All right, it took 2 days worth of labor, a bit of doctoring on a torque converter. Not everything went smoothly, but we got this TH350 pulled out of this Cutlass, got another one put back in, and it's running smooth, it's running well. Now, if you're interested in seeing how we got this done this weekend, stay tuned. So we're here at the warehouse getting ready to change the transmission in the Cutlass. Cruising the Coast is coming up in a couple of weeks. And last year, Cruising the Coast, we had some metal shavings in the transmission. And it's been a year. I decided not to take a chance with it, so I'm going to replace the transmission. I decided not to rebuild this one because I think it's something, it's more than just a little graphite powder in it. It's like shaving. So I think there's a planetary gear or something going out, something major. Don't know if it was in a torque converter or what, but there's big metal in it, so I'm going to leave it alone. So I'm going to pull this TH350 out, doing it by myself. My spousal unit says she might come here and help me. We'll see if that happens, but that'll be a good thing. So anyway, got the car pulled up, just need to get it up on jack stands and get started. And let's just get into this. Here we go. So let's see, what do we have to take apart? Well, the first thing is, I've got the Rocket 350 in here, but I think the big block and the small block Oldsmobile are the same size. But I've got dual exhaust, so I know I've got an exhaust flange over here on the other side. I'm looking way up underneath there, and the transmission dipstick tube's gonna have to come out. The two cooling lines are right there in that corner. They're hard to get to, and the downshift cable has been, you can see where it's hitting the flange right there. That's where I had trouble last year, which started the whole process for a reason why we had to pull the pan. I'm going to drain some of the transmission fluid if I can find an aluminum pan to drip it into. And let's see what else we got. We know we got the cross member. So there's a cross member underneath here. I got to get to, where is it up there? Yeah, I got to get to the cross member. Probably, I don't know, if the parking brake cable is going to have to come down. What else? Drive shaft, of course, come out. I'll pull it out at the back. I'm going to tape the front, tape the yoke so it doesn't drip. What else? Shifter linkage, speedometer cable. Yeah, whole thing is to be able to get this, because this is only, this is only that high off the ground. I got to get this off the ground high enough to get the transmission out. Yeah, I've got 6-ton jack stands to do that, and then 3 tons for the back. This is what I'm starting with. So I have a Harbor Freight 2-ton aluminum jack, and I made a transmission adapter plate for it. There's a separate video that I made on just that. It's just a few minutes long. I'm gonna put the thumbnail up here, the link over there. But this is a TH350 that I ordered off the web. Taking my chances with that, but I had bad luck with transmission shops in town, and they're getting few and far in between that can work on a 50-year-old transmission. Got a new torque converter that I ordered that came in, 2 new 6-ton jacks from Harbor Freight, and my issue now is to try to figure out how high up in the air do we need to get this transmission. So right now, if I had 23 inches of clearance, let's see, this is, yeah, so if I had, this is about the same height as the transmission jack. So if I had maybe 23, 24 inches of clearance, I think I could get this out. So that's what I need to do, is I need to go from 5 inches of clearance. I need to get it, you know, roughly 20 inches or so up in the air, the frame rail. So that's what I'm going to aim for, but I'm going to start taking apart a handful of things. I'm going to loosen up some of the bolts up top that I'd rather get them where from the top when I can reach them, rather than try to come up from the bottom with all kinds of wobbles and extensions. So I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to have the time when I take the starter off, because I usually like to use the starter to turn the flywheel in order to get to the 3 torque converter bolts. So I'm going to have to see how that plays out, we'll see. All right, underneath the car, I've removed the shift linkage, took it off the frame. I didn't know how to get it apart, so it's just dangling there. But my starter, I'm gonna leave my starter hooked up. Looks like I'm gonna have to take off this, at least one side of the exhaust in order to clear the bell housing down. I think the other one will probably be okay, but this one kind of dips underneath and that one goes up. I'm gonna leave the starter attached until I disconnect the flywheel bolts. But I'm gonna drain the transmission fluid now. It'll be easier to drain it when it's in the car. So I've got some aluminum baking pans I'm gonna put underneath there, and I'm gonna tip that pan down and then just drain it. There you go. Okay, so it's draining. I just need to loosen a little bit more, get the rest of the fluid out, or at least most of the fluid out, so I don't make a bigger mess when I pull it out. All right, the transmission pan's down, and I've only got about 250 miles on the car, maybe 300 or so since we had that problem last year. But there's still, I don't know if you can see it, but there's shavings, big shavings that are in here. So I mean, it could have been left over in the transmission. I don't know what, but it's just not good. You can see a little cloudiness over here. The fluid's just not a healthy color, and this is brand new fluid. It's only got a couple of 100 miles on it. So I don't know if it's good or bad, but I've decided to just, you know, not risk a failure, because every time I take the car out, it's someplace distant usually. So I just don't want to take a chance. So we're going to change transmission no matter what. All right, now that I got the fluid out, I got it cleaned up underneath there with my all dry mat. And you know, you're gonna sooner or later get transmission fluid in your hair. It's like usually all the back of your head's all matted when you change the transmission. But I got a piece of cardboard that I'm laying and sliding, and that's helping. That's a lot better than the creeper. But anyway, I'm on my way. I'm going to now start disconnecting torque converter bolts and things like that while the car is low, and then I'm gonna jack it up when I'm ready to pull the whole thing out. So I'm gonna start doing that, use a starter to bump it and get the bolts where I need to be. And yeah, so we're on it. All right, torque converter bolts are 9/16. I got a ratchet wrench, so hopefully I can break this one. And then once I get this one, I'll get in, I'll bump the starter. And oh yeah, that's easy. I'll get to the other ones. 1, 2, 3. Slide the torque converter back. And I'll be able to continue on. I'm gonna have to find my way to these bell housing bolts. There's one up here. I got the two on the top. Let's see. Can you see what I'm doing? Oh, you can't see what I'm doing. Yeah, there's one way up here that I need to get to, way up there. I got the one at the absolute top of the bell housing. I got that one already, or those two. But now I'm gonna get these bolts on the torque converter off first. Oh, that's nice. Whew. Yeah, I think the most tiring thing about, or the thing about changing transmission is the in and out, up and down, up and down, up and down. It's like doing Stairmaster. It'll wear you out. Let me bump the starter and get to it. I was smart and pulled the coil wire to make sure it doesn't start, but I just need to bump it a little bit. Let's see what that did. All right. Let's see, it might be backlashing with the compression. Oh, it is one. All right. Got that one. All right. So I'm gonna keep going. I'm gonna loosen this one, spin it a little bit more, get the other one, slide the torque converter back, and that'll be that. All right, now we're back at the rear tailpiece, and there's a speedometer cable. I need to take that out. I think I need to recover my gear too, but I'll do that after. With all the fluids drained, hopefully I got a channel lock here that'll get this done. Oh yeah, easy. Yeah, I had all kinds of leaks in this damn thing. I had all kinds of leaks in this transmission. I don't know what the heck's going on with it. Doesn't matter. All right, that's out. Speedo's out. Woohoo! One less thing. All right, I'll leave the gear. I need to get the cross member out. I still need to get the drive shaft out. Now that I'm finished with the starter, I'll disconnect my ground and not have the risk of power hitting me. Man, I tell you what, that starter is so close to the exhaust. I got a story for you. I'll tell you one day. We almost lost the car, almost burned it to the ground. At cruising the coast a couple of years back. That's a heck of a story. I'm going to save that for a separate video. But all right, we're getting the ground off now. Power will be dead to the car. I can pull the starter down. Pull the starter down. Hopefully I don't have to disconnect everything off the solenoid. I don't know that I want to pull it completely out. Maybe I can find a coat hanger or something to hang it. We'll see. All right, I'm half exhausted, but I got everything disconnected. I got the cross member disconnected. Starter's down, starter's completely out. All 6 of the bell housing bolts are out. Torque converter or disconnected and slipped back. Axle's out. I mean, the drive shaft is out. You can see I'm punch drunk. Yeah, so now what I'm trying to do is I'm going to jack the car completely up, put it on a jack stand since everything's disconnected, and then use my jack. I'm going to put the adapter on the bottom of it so I can get to the bottom of the pan, take the weight off, slide the cross member back, and hopefully lower the transmission enough to get the 2 coolant lines off, and then pull the transmission completely out. So I've been at this maybe now for about 2.5 to 3 hours, maybe. So that's not bad. And my spousal unit did show up, and she is helping me. She's handing me tools, but she does not want to be on camera. So here we go. All right, I got her about 6 inches off the ground in the back. I'm probably gonna go a little bit higher, and I'm gonna use these little 3-ton jack stands underneath the rear axle. So right now I'm just trying to jack it up and get it. I can afford to go as high as possible right now because I've got everything disconnected. So working overhead isn't going to be a big pain in the foot, and that's what I've been worried about. So I don't know, maybe I'm creating work for myself, but all right, so it's getting there. All right, let me put these jack stands underneath here, and I'll go to the front and put the 6-ton jack stands, and it'll be even higher in the front. All right, I got the car jacked up as high as I can with my jack. I mean, I had it fully extended, and those are the 6-ton jack stands. They're underneath the 2 A-frames. But now I got my transmission adapter plate on the bottom of the pan, and I just pull the weight. So I pull the weight off of the cross member, and now the cross member's loose. So my jack looks like it's going to work. So let's go ahead and pull it out. Well, I got it. Coming down. So there it is. Now I just need to find a way to fish that bell housing out from here. And I think what I might do is if I take this tire off, I bet I can get it right through that little opening if I tilt it. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take this tire off, fish it through there, because I'm not quite 24 inches off the ground. I'm nowhere close. So, I mean, it's like it was designed to come through this little opening. It's ridiculous how it's like just right there. Ta-da. Like, oh, man, it stuck a little bit, but what am I on? I don't know, but it's right there. It's out. I'm swapping out a whole bunch of pieces, parts that have to go on here. I had to recover my shifter linkage that goes on here, and then I had to recover my inverted flare adapters. That must be like a 1/4-inch pipe thread here in the transmission body, and it's an inverted flare fitting. So that'll receive my 2 cooling lines. I had to put I got a new shifter, downshift cable, passing gear cable. And I'm putting a new O-ring on my dipstick tube. But those of you of a certain age will remember this. Remember in the late 70s when the metric system came? And you had a car that had half SAE, half standard, and half metric? This transmission must be from a 77 or 78 or 79 or something like that. Still a TH350. The drive shaft spline fits, the torque converter splines fit, but the bolts and the nuts are different. I had to go to the hardware store and go pick up a metric nut for the shifter linkage and a metric bolt for the passing gear cable, and that set me back about an hour. but you know, okay. We'll get it done. We're gonna get it done. All right, so let me show you something. On this I just slipped this torque converter on. Pull it off. But the front of the torque converter has two grooves to engage the pump. So there's two sets of splines. There's an inner shaft, an outer shaft, and then there's a third that has to engage here the pump. But one of the things that a lot of people mistakenly do, and this is most everyone's well aware of this, but torque converter's got to go back a certain amount, and it's got to, you heard it hit the back of the pump. So right now what I've done is I've taken a straight edge and I put a straight edge across the front of this, and I made sure that my torque converter is back. It's about 3/4 of an inch to an inch on this one, and I compared it over here and made sure this one that I know is engaged, I did the same thing. I put it on the front of that, and it's the same depth back. So I know this is far enough back to where it won't get into a bind, because you'll burn it up if this is all wedged up. So we know that that's all aligned and in good position. I remember my bolt was at 7 o'clock for when I slip it in, so I know I'll be able to get this torque converter aligned with the flywheel, the flex plate. So I'm almost ready to roll this thing underneath the car and put it in. All right, I rolled the transmission underneath the car, went through that little gap right behind the lower A-frame, and I got the bell housing underneath it, so it's got my floor jack there. And yeah, so now I'm about to lift it into place. Wish me luck. All right, the regular viewers to my channel will know this. I work by myself. Today I'm happy to be fortunate. My spousal unit, my wife, is helping. She's handing me wrenches and she's just making sure I don't kill myself, because I'm not at home. I'm away from home, so there's nobody else here, so that's why she's hanging around. But she's been running back and forth to the hardware store, helping me sort out all this standard metric stuff. So anyway, that's why I keep her. She's a good one. And you can tell her I said that. So the transmission is jacked in place. It's lined up. I've already got 3 or 4 bolts started on the bell housing. The last thing we're sorting out is there's a metric problem right here with my transmission rubber block that's here. The holes here in the boss are metric, and I had standard bolts, so she's getting metric bolts to fit that. And then I'll be able to slide my cross member back, speedometer cable, starter. The cooling lines are attached. The kick down cable is attached, but not at the pedal, not at the accelerator pedal. And then I need to put my, the very last thing I think will be my emergency brake. So I'd have the camera on letting you watch underneath here, but you can see it's hard to watch. Anyway, so carry on. All right, how about some honesty? I had the transmission completely in. I was on the very last thing. The only I had left to do is just tighten the 3 torque converter bolts and then put the starter and the driver's side exhaust on, fluid in it, fire it, and I was done. And just as I'm bringing the torque converter up, a problem. And let me show you. Here's my old torque converter. So you can see it's got the built-in threaded bosses for 3 bolts. Here's a replacement torque converter that I got. And you can see it doesn't. It's got spot welds, plug welds in here. So this big plate on this Oldsmobile, the flex plate, has a balancing plate on it. You see that plate that looks like all kinds of holes drilled in it? See right next to the bolt hole for the torque converter? Long story short, I gotta modify this torque converter. I gotta take it, grind the tips off. So I gotta cut some of this back. I've got them marked, so I'm gonna have to take this home and do that. But I had the whole transmission in. I was almost done. Now I gotta keep going. So frustrating, but fight another day. So I'll be back at it, not tonight, but tomorrow. We'll see you. Well, good morning. It's day 2 on the replacement of that TH350 automatic transmission of my 1971 Cutlass. I'm back at home. I'm at my home garage, which is where Christine is. I've been working on Christine, but not this weekend. I'm trying to get the Cutlass ready for cruising the coast. It's a week-long cruise event. I think they've got over 8,000 cars registered this year. I'm sure they're going to break records this year. Looking forward to getting out there. It'll be the first week of October. So last night, I had the transmission 90% towards being buttoned up, and the torque converter, I have to modify it. So I brought it home where my grinder and my welder is, and I'm going to go ahead and make some modifications to this, but let's talk through it a little bit. So this is a rebuilt torque converter. I bought it from AutoZone, made in the USA. Pretty sure it's remanufactured. This B1A torque converter. So it's this torque converter is different than the one that I had that I had on the car, and it's these little brackets that are in the way, the little mounting bosses. So what I'm going to have to do is I made some templates. I've marked these things A and B, and I'm just going to grind away some material just to clear my flex plate, balancer plate, which crosses over this one and on this one. So I'm gonna take these two, grind these down, and in the event that I get too close to the weld, I'm going to go ahead and weld this back. But that's what I'm going to do. So that's the project at the moment. Alright, I got it cleaned up, put my template on here, marked it, grinded it out, and it looks like this must be a weld where the whole plate is fused. It must be like a pinch weld. I forget what they call it, but it's where the two plates fuse together instead of a spot weld. So it's welded throughout the entire surface, so that's not going to be very weak. It's super strong right now. So I've got this done now. I'm pretty sure I'm going to clear it on both sides, but I'm going to bring my grinder to the warehouse just in case. So we're going there next. All right, now I've got the torque converter slipped back into place. I've got it grinded out where I'm going to clear that plate. I'm going to show you that plate. I'm going to climb underneath the car, show you what I was dealing with. Oh, there it is. That plate right there was in the way. So my 2 bolt holes are here. Let's see. Right there and over here. And I had to grind away enough to clear this corner and this corner. But I did it, and now we're going to put it in. So there we got it underneath. And I got that adapter plate on my jack. And here we go. All right, I'm underneath the car. Got the emergency brake connected. Drive shaft back in, universal joint tight. Shift linkage. I just put fluid in it, and it looks like I'm getting some drips. I don't know what that's all about. Shouldn't be leaking. Got my coolant lines connected. Torque converter's bolted up. Starter's in. Yeah. It's all bolted up to the motor, tight. Doesn't seem like much until you lose 2 days doing it. But we're now gonna try to turn the key. All right, ready to start it. I also changed the oil while we had it. So let's see. So that's reverse. Drive. We got propulsion. Take it off the jack stands, take it around the block. Alright, it seems to be doing okay. Staying in gear, it's been slipping for about 5 minutes or so. I've had it in the garage and couldn't tell. It was taking a little while to settle in, man. It just makes me nervous. You know, but I know it's rebuilt, so yeah, it's slipping a little bit, but it's shifting. Maybe it'll take a little bit for that fluid to get circulating, get the air pockets out of the system, maybe. Oh no, I was going. Yeah, I'm in third now. 3-speed. Oh shoot. But my speedometer's not working. That's not good. Why not? Why is that not working? I put the gear back in. Alright, so let's see. We'll just go through the neighborhood. Oh yeah, it's pulling a lot better now. Yeah, it just took a little bit to get that fluid circulating. But I don't like that my speedometer's not working. So, alright. I know, put the cable back in, it would be dripping otherwise. And the dripping that I had earlier was the transmission pan. See it slipping right there. Yeah, it's just got to work out the kinks, I guess. But I had to change the transmission pan on this rebuilt transmission when I pulled it off the crate. The bottom of the pan was like completely pushed completely in. It was horrible. So I took my pan off of mine and put it on this one. So it seems like it's doing okay. All right, let me put this phone down and let me get it back to the shop. All right, we got it done. So I got it back in the shop now. Still got that speedometer cable to fix, but hopefully it'll be minor. I don't know, but I still have my other TH350 in case I need a part off of it. You never do know. So anyway, that's going to be it for this episode. I do appreciate you watching. If you enjoyed this, check out my other videos where we're restoring that 1956 Bel Air. And stay tuned for the month of October when we're going to be shooting you some videos from cruising the coast from the Mississippi Gulf Coast beaches. It's an awesome time. Over 8,000 cars registered so far. Really looking forward to it. So until next time, take care of yourself. Cheers.